There are quite a few podcasts that need music, and in this video I want to talk about Omnisphere, my favorite synth that I've been using for podcasts for years. Hi, it's Mike from Casefile Presents. On this channel I'm releasing videos on podcasting, so if you enjoy the content, hit the like button. A lot of podcasts are a simple interview style shows, and as far as the music goes, they don't need much. Maybe an intro, an outro, maybe a sound effect. Nothing that you cannot purchase from, many royalty-free websites that are out there. However, as podcasting grows, more elaborate shows come out. Shows such as true crime, fictional stories, investigative journalism, storytelling podcasts, and so on. And these kind of shows, they do need music to elevate the story. Of course, you can buy some cues and some themes from royalty-free websites, but the best shows have original music. It's not easy, but that's how you stand out from the crowd. And for writers and composers, this can be a great additional source of revenue. Now, I've been studying music and playing music and writing music since I was a child. I played in bands and done some projects over the years. And my initial dream was to be a film composer. And I find that writing music for podcasts is really the next best thing. And for the last 5.5 years, I've been writing music for Casefile, and as we grow Casefile Presents, for other shows as well. I keep my toolkit fairly minimal, and the main synth, the main instrument that I've been using is Omnisphere. Omnisphere is a synth from Spectrasonics that's used by professional composers all over the world. I've been using Omnisphere for like 9 or 10 years. The current version is 2.5, and I also purchased the rest of the instruments from Spectrasonics as well as additional libraries. However, Omnisphere is still, after all these years, in the center of my sort of music creation process. First, let's talk about what Omnisphere is for and what it isn't. And then I will jump into my ProTools session and I will show you how I have it all set up. So Omnisphere is great for scoring, writing music, as well as for playing live. The last function is not really relevant for our work. However, in some instances, it can be useful for podcasts and scoring for podcasts. Omnisphere shines in atmospheric music, pads, creating eerie scenes, true crime, things like that. You can build patches from the ground up, you can modify existing patches, or you can just use them as they come, and they're more than enough. With Omnisphere, I find it works best with some kind of thrillers or action-packed scenes. Podcasts, we're talking about podcast investigative sort of elements of the story, pads, atmospherics. You can find some acoustic instruments in Omnisphere. However, it's not the primary function of this instrument because it is a synth first and foremost. For acoustic work, so like basses or guitars or orchestral work, I tend to use different instruments. Some of them from Spectrasonics as well that you use within Omnisphere, but we'll talk about it in another video. So even though there are some acoustics within Omnisphere, that's not how I primarily use it. We are using it for textures, arpeggios, pads, electronics, things like that. There are tons of ways that you can modify the existing sounds. You can layer them on top of them. You can create some from scratch, or you can just buy additional libraries. So you can do whatever you want, really. But I'm just talking about Omnisphere, and it's hard to convey what I want to say, really. So let's jump into my ProTools session, where I show you how I've got it set up and how I use it. Okay, so that's my session, and I've hidden the tracks from the rest of the template to show you only the Omnisphere setup. When we look on the left side, you'll see a track called Omni. It doesn't do anything, it's just a track that indicates everything below sort of is created for Omnisphere. Then we got a click track, it's muted at the moment, and then we got our auxiliaries. Now, Omnisphere sits on just one, the first auxiliary, and that's more than enough. 8 auxiliaries are created to take advantage of 8 channels that I have in Omnisphere. I'll show you in a second. However, when I'm actually creating music, library music for true crime podcasts, mostly used for Casefile, I only use one auxiliary, and I hide all of them. I can hide all of them anyway. And that's because I tend to create everything on just one MIDI track. But we'll talk about the actual creation of a musical cue in another video. Below that, we got our MIDI tracks, 4 at the minute. If I need more, I create more. And then we got stems, and that's where I commit MIDI to audio. I place it on my stem tracks as audio files. Okay, let's now talk about Omnisphere. So we got our Omnisphere plugin there on the first track, and lots of options. So we got Orb there. It's like a tool that sort of modulates the sound. We've got our main, that's the main patch. It's usually made from 2 layers, sometimes more, it can be more. Then we got effects and arpeggiator. The magic happens there. So, okay, that's all of my libraries. Let's just focus on Omnisphere library. So that's what you get when you just buy the standard Omnisphere virtual instrument with no addition. And still, there's quite a lot of them. Like I mentioned before, Omnisphere shines with pads, atmospherics, background music, thriller kinda style. Of course, that's very limiting perspective on Omnisphere. It's so much more. But we've got our categories, we've got types, genres, complexities, and then lots and lots of different patches. So we got stuff like pads, we can go into, like I said before, we do have some guitars. Of course, BPM, that's our rhythms. And plenty more. As you can see, we got distortions, we got all of these synths, organs, percussions, textures. I mean, really, you can do so much with Omnisphere. And of course, we got, let's say, ambient space piano. We can play with all of it here. So we got all the functions. We can, let's say, add an octave, detune it, use the orb as on inertia. Lots and lots of options. And going back to the auxiliaries, so when we go into multi and the mixer, we have 8 channels, and all of these channels are assigned to my auxiliaries. And what I can do is when I press record on all these 4 MIDIs, which are assigned to these channels, it plays all of them at the same time. Right? As you can see here and there. And when I press record, that of course will record that on all of these 4 MIDIs. How can I then combine it with a stack? And that's stack mode. It takes your keyboard and it splits it into different segments. Then you can assign the segments to different instruments, as you can see there. Lots of options. We also have a live function, and with live function, I can, only have one MIDI there on record, so not all of them. And it plays all these patches that are highlighted. I used to use it in the past when I scored the episodes live. So I used to have live mode on, or the multi, just a mixer, depending what I was doing, and actually with the stack play to the narration. Of course, that wasn't sustainable, so I changed my strategy a little bit, and now I sort of build the cue element by element with just one patch, and with just one patch playing, and then split into different ones. Again, we'll talk about it in another video, in the next video, because it's not as complicated. It's easier for me to show you than try to explain it. But that's how I have it set up in my template, really. I've got loads of different libraries here as well, third party as well as ones from Spectrasonics. But that's about it. I highly recommend Omnisphere for anyone who's interested into music creation or scoring podcasts. Not only podcasts, of course, you can score movies or TV shows or whatever with it, games. Widely used synth. If you're into music scoring, if you're into music composition, either for yourself, for your own podcast, or for other podcasts, then check out Omnisphere. Hands down, this is a top synth that you should be using, or at least trying it for a bit. Spectrasonics as a company are amazing. The customer support is amazing. Like I said, I've got all of their stuff, and I'll go through each of their instruments in the future videos. Unfortunately, they don't tend to release new ones often enough. But that being said, with all the other instruments I'm using, Omnisphere is always at the center of everything I do. That's it for today. I'm Mike Migas. If you wanna check the rest of my channel, do so, and you might learn something more about podcasting. For now, you can share, like, or subscribe, and I'll see you later.